So yeah, just keep in mind that it's a playful piece, and that we're going to use some just very simple key color work to make the man and woman look like a man and woman. I mean, you can see that they're very abstracted, and they're stemming out from the flow of the two wine glasses. So I don't want you to worry about that part. As long as we go slow and easy, it's going to come out fine. Just don't overthink it. Remember, everything is dancing in this painting, so you want to just keep a very kind of laid back attitude towards it. So on the red glass, we're dealing with, you know, reds to purples, and on the white glass, we're dealing with yellows that go into slight greens, into slight browns, and then on the very left we have some blues. So we have two very distinct color palettes that we're going to be working with, and once we understand that palette, it's going to be very easy to start doing the splashes and all of that. It's all just manipulating the colors. Let me see, we have somebody else coming in. Okay. Okay, so for those of you that just joined, I was just explaining that the painting is not going to be difficult. It's playful, it's fun. Don't overthink it, and just paint along with me. So the first thing that you want to establish as far as the construction is concerned, is the two different shapes of the wine glasses. So for the red wine, you have more of a bubble, and for the white wine, you have kind of a longer glass. So that really is the two difference between them, and just kind of make sure that your angles are going in the right direction. And this is going to be one of those drawings that I'm going to use the ruler. I'm going to use it as a guide. I'm not going to use it as to draw a straight line. It's just going to help me keep track of the stems so that they don't get crooked. So if you have anything like, you can use a brush, you can use anything that has a straight edge, you're just going to eyeball just that thing when we get to it. So a box of Kleenex, anything that has a straight edge, or if you do have a ruler, that's fine. We're not going to be drawing with it. We're just going to use it to check our angles. So that's going to be really the only tricky thing here that we are working with. The other thing is you want to make sure that you leave room for the dancing people up here. And so I would kind of stop the glasses no more than halfway across the length of your paper. So those are the things to keep in mind. Okay. So I'm going to go to my painting board and okay, can everyone hear me? I have the echo.
I can't hear you, Noel.
Okay, can everyone hear me now?
It's just like a whistle.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay. How about now? We're good? Okay. All right, so then- I don't know why I'm getting this echo. I'm sorry.
No. Ah.
Okay, do we finally have it? Can you hear me?
There's echo.
I can hear
I
you,
don't know
but I
why the
can't see you.
echo-
It's still doing it, but one of us is not muted, I think.
Um, I'm sorry, I'll go over.
You're echoing, Noel.
I know, I know. Okay, I'm so sorry. I can't seem to figure out why. We still have echoes?
The
Yeah.
echoes and feedback. Type the sharp, high pitched feedback.
I don't know why it's doing that. I'm not doing anything different. Let me just sit. My tech support is not here. Okay, how about now? Oh, Now? Still echo? I have no idea why. I'm gonna dial in again. Okay. Is there still echo?
Yes.
I don't know what to do. This is crazy.
Should we all get off and start again?
I don't know. It's bizarre.
Well, the echo is not so bad. It's the feedback loop that's
I know.
kind of.
Maybe if I mute this all the way. Is there still echo now?
No.
Is this good?
Yeah, it's good for
Oh,
me.
Yes, it is good.
okay. All right. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. All right. So let's go back here now that I've slightly redeemed myself. Okay. So like I was showing you, the very first thing is getting the two glasses down, making sure we leave space for these guys up here. And we were going to talk about having a straight edge to just make sure that the stems are in place and they go to the sides. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw this very quickly. So again, making the decision to stop, just making sure that I don't go past the little bit, above the center line. So I have I'm going to start with the longer one. So if you look at the negative space around here, you can see that there's an angle. And of course, I'm going to do this in watercolor so we can see how we're doing it. Again, I'm looking at the negative space between the two. And I'm seeing the top here.
I can't see you at all, Noel.
Can everybody see me? Yeah, I think Andre, your camera is off.
It's like every other time. I don't know.
There's nothing I can do.
Okay.
I can see that your camera is off.
Okay. I'll check. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just.
Muted. Andre, can you mute yourself?
No, it's better now. I can see a bit. Before I could only have like 1/3 of the screen, but now I can see your hand and the paint and the drawing.
Okay. Andre, can you mute yourself?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just because it makes more echo. Okay, thanks. Okay, so you can see that the red glass is going to sit higher than the white glass. Okay, so this is where kind of a straight edge comes in handy. So this is my straight edge. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that the stem is coming off the middle. Okay, so you can just give yourself some points to make sure that you're not going to go, tilt to the right or to the left. And again, this does not have to be a completely straight line. We can just give the illusion of it. And same thing with the red one. So make sure that your straight edge is centered and it's straight. And just give yourselves a couple marks. Because it's very easy while you're painting to kind of for this line to kind of tilt, and then your wine glasses are going to look like they're broken. Okay, so that's as far as the construction. So we're going to go ahead and start that in color. So to start, I'm going to create a grayish color, and I'm going to use a finish brush. And if you have a Payne's gray, you can use that, but use it very lightly. If not, just take a little bit of brown, a little bit of purple, anything that's going to give you a grayish color. At this point, even just a brown would be fine. So I'm doing a watered down gray, and I'm going to use this like I do a pencil. So I'm going to start with my glass. So again, see how light this is? If it doesn't work out, it's not a big commitment. I'm just going to add water. And again, if you look at the space around it, it will really help with the shape. Again, I'm using just enough color to where I can see it. So I'm going to move next to it and realize that the red glass is going to sit a little bit higher. So I'm going to look at that space between them to get this angle. Again, I'm just adding water to my gray. Kind of fades out on the right, so just, you know, go lightly on that area. Okay, so we have our two glasses now. So now just place a pencil or anything that you have, and, you know, just give yourself a couple marks. So again, make sure this is key. I mean, if you're using it like crooked, then you're going to get a crooked wine glass. So just make sure that it's. And sometimes while you're adding color and detailing, you might resort to that. So just keep that edge handy, that straight edge that you're using. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to just give a basic color to each wine. And we're going to use a wet on wet. So when I do the wet on wet, I like to slightly tint my water with the general color that I'm going to be using. Little dog with big bark. And the reason I do that is that it just helps me see it a little bit better. So for the red glass, I am going to prepare just a very light kind of pink, which is just red with tons of water. And I'm going to outline the area that I'm going to do the wet on wet. So you can see that it almost has like a wave. You can clearly see where the wine is sitting in the glass. So what I'm doing is I'm outlining the area that's going to have all the red. Now that I've outlined it, I can fill it in with water. Again, when you're doing wet on wet, you should have enough water to where the colors will play around, but you want to make sure that it's not too much, and then things will be running in every direction. So there's one thing I want you to be mindful of here. You can see there's a kind of a splash of blue that's giving the highlight to the glass. So if you can kind of protect that area, that would be great. So I'm just going to Just take a little bit more red and just kind of mark it, just so that I don't fill it with red. Can everybody see that right here? Okay. So now let the fun begin. So if we look at the reds in the red wine, it's going from a pink to a red. Some very slight areas have a little bit of orange, and then the deeper reds are acquiring somewhat of a purple. So I would say you want to use both reds if you have two reds, or red and purple, to get those colors started. Okay, so I'm going to start with my dark areas. So I am going to take a little bit of a deep red. And I'm going to take some purple. So what I want to do is I want to create a deep wine color, basically. And if the purple that I have here is not very strong. If you have a similar case, just put a little bit of blue onto it. And I'm going to drop this in the dark areas that I'm seeing. Okay, my paper is almost wet, so I'm almost dry, so I'm just going to wet it a little bit. And see, it's already starting to play a little bit. And since I have this color, I'm going to put it at the bottom here where I'm seeing it. Again, try to protect that little area. If you go over it, just take a tissue and okay. So now I'm going to switch to more of just a red. And I'm going to put it in and let it play around with the purple and red that you put earlier. And when I get here, my reds are lighter, so I'm just going to take a little bit of water and just spread that around. And you can see that there's swirls of color, so just go in that motion, let everything kind of play around a little bit. Go outside the lines, go into the glass a little bit on the top here. Okay, so always remember your very first step is going to be just putting in your base color. So at this point, I would consider this a base color. So now we're going to move to the white wine glass. And I am going to take a little bit of this ochre, this mustard color. And I'm going to take a little bit of brown. So this is kind of the color I'm creating. And I'm going to use a little bit of water on it. And I'm just going to outline where I'm going to be putting my wet on wet color. So if you notice at the top, the color is kind of very dispersed. So I'm just going to just dot it over here. It doesn't have very specific lines. And then as we get here, we're getting a little bit more of an edge. And it looks, you know, there's a lot of motion in this painting. So make sure that you use a lot of curves when you're doing the lines of the liquid moving around. And that was a little strong. If the color's too strong, just add a little bit of water. And I thought this was a really fun part here. We're going to be adding reds at one point. The red wine is kind of, the color is reflecting. So if you notice with both glasses, there's almost like a double wall with the glass. So, you know, you can add that later, or if you're doing this, just, you know, leave that without wine, just glass. So you can see it on both. There's almost like the wall of the glass. Okay, so I have my area that's going to be painted. So I'm going to wet it. And we have like a really distinct dark area here and a dark area here. So I'm gonna go back to that mustard, the ochre color. I'm gonna put some brown. I want it to get deeper. And I'm gonna put a touch of purple. So I'm trying to get like a rich reddish brown color. And I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna drop it in the dark area. It sits here, and then we're gonna go on the other side. And on the left side, you can see a lot more of the purple in it. So I'm just gonna take a touch of purple. Okay, so the liquid in the middle is getting a little bit almost like a green to it. So I'm gonna go back to that mustard. If you have a yellow, just put a little bit of brown to it. And I'm gonna take a little bit of green, just to give it that coolness. So I'm looking for a color that looks kind of something like this. And I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna drop it and let it mix with the brown a little bit so you don't have a big separation. And up here, I'm just going to just scatter it. Okay, so we do have some waves and shapes in the middle. And I'm going to take a little bit of brown, darken that color. And with a thin brush, I'm just gonna put in the waves. And again, you know, you don't have to stick 100% to the picture. As long as you're going in that direction and motion, you should be fine. Okay, so we're going to work a little bit on the glass and the stems. So again, go back to either creating a grayish color, or you can use a Payne's gray. And again, I'm going to take my straight edge, just make sure that everything is aligned.
Noelle, can you move the picture up so we can see what you're doing?
Okay. And then on the other side, see, that's a good thing I'm doing that, because I think the initial line was off, because things shift when you're painting. You don't want this to touch the watercolor, just use it just as a guide. Okay, so I'm using a thin brush. Now realize when you're using a very thin brush, it's not going to hold a lot of water. So you're kind of going back and forth. One thing you might want to try practicing is using a bigger brush, but trying to just use the tip of it. And that way it'll hold more water and it's less frustrating having to go back and forth. So I'm going to start shaping the glass wherever I'm seeing any lines. And now I'm starting to see the wall of the glass. So again, notice I'm not going with any continuous lines. I'm just feathering. I'm going to the top and just be careful with this angle. See, the lines are feathered and I think it works really nice. And then here we're seeing the other side of the rim. I'm gonna blur that line out. That did not work. Okay, let's go to the other glass. Okay, I'm seeing the wall a little earlier here than the other one. And, you know, I would start these lines light and then, you know, just darken key areas as you go along. Because if you put a dark line and it's not in the right shape or direction, it's going to throw everything off. So just keep it light. And again, I'm just going to use this to make sure that I'm not off. It's almost like just a double check. So this brush I'm using, this is called a script brush, and it's got a very long tip to it, thin, and it's really great for writing. Like a lot of artists use it to sign their paintings. If you want that brush, just email me, let me know. I'll send you the exact specifications. So here we're seeing a little bit of a darker line. And up here, we're seeing the other side. And make sure that when you're doing the other side of the rim, the one that's away from you, that you go lighter because it is further away, so you're not seeing it with the same clarity and thickness. Okay, so now we are going to be bold and brave, and we are going to take these wines and we're going to splash them, and we're going to create that beautiful couple. Okay, so I did two trials of the two colors. One I started with the red and one I started with the white. I think I liked starting with the white better because I think she's kind of she's in front. So I think just doing the yellow greens first and then putting the reds behind them just worked a little bit better. So I'm going to take a thin brush and I'm going to start kind of finding my way up. So I'm going back to this greenish, brownish color. If you need to add to it, add a little bit more. And I'm going to start just taking a few lines. And remember, if you're doing it thin and light, you can't go wrong. It's really foolproof. It doesn't have to be the exact lines, but go in a certain direction following the image. So now this is the part that is kind of crossing over the guy. And then one of the things that is really showing the motion of dancing is that arching that she has of her back. So I'm going to kind of paint that in so you can see it. She's got her arm folded. which is creating like a triangle. Her head is going to be pushed back, so it's going to be a little bit off where her chest and back is. So you can see like following that curve. So I'm just going to put a simple oval and a circle just to show her hair. And we've got her arm over here. Okay, so we got her. Now, if you do this piece more than once, you can probably do it wet on wet. It would be a little tricky. So, you know, for smaller areas and you're still trying to find your way through, I think this is fine. I'm just working on it light so I can build it gradually. Okay, so let's go to the red area. So I'm going to use a red. It doesn't matter at this point if you do it red and purple or just red. And on this one, I'm almost seeing like a triangle come out of the glass, like a very irregular triangle. I'm going to paint that in. I'm just going to take some red. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move up and paint his body that is peeking behind her. So there's a longish triangle. And then there's his arm. And it bends and holds her hand. And then his head, again, is going towards her. So it's angled. And we see his leg over here. And the rest of it in here. A little bit of red wherever you're seeing red. And of course his arm behind her here. Okay, so now that I have him in, I can go back and fill in some little bit more of her body. And again, just make sure you manipulate your lines where they seem to kind of separate and turn into lines. Do that. I'm going to give the lines coming out of the glass just a little bit more definition. And again, you need a very thin brush for this. And just detail her a little bit. Now that you have everything down, you can add a little bit more detail. So notice on this round, I'm going just a little bit darker with the color. My phone has so much static. I think that's part of what's happening today. We're going to go back to him and do some of the splashes. So again, you know, just have fun with this. You know, take the red, put in a line, then take some water and just go over it. Do some splashes. Put down the color, take some water, because that will make it look like a liquid. See, I put the color and then take some water. And I'm going to go and merge them in with the wine coming out of the glass. Now I'm seeing different reds in here, so you can put them in. And make sure that you move inside the glass so that they look connected. I'm going to go back up here. Again, so notice to the right, the red is kind of very watered down. It's almost like a pink. So make sure that you have enough water. Okay, so there's one color that we still have not added to this that we see, which is the blue. And we can see it quite a bit in this, in the white wine glass, and we can see it up here, a little bit here, and on the rims. So I'm going to take, you know, any blue will really do. Because it's going to be very watered down. And I'm kind of going to wash it over. Don't worry about it getting over the color. If you want it to be a little bit more greenish, you can. I'm going to put some little dots here. Okay, so now we have everything that is part of the painting in here. So let's say we had to stop now. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing the detail inside the wine glass. As you can see, there's a lot of little separations. There's a lot of swirls. And notice that the swirls in the wine, the red wine, are more circular, and in the white, they're kind of a little bit more upright. So the next thing I want to do is I want to put in these pretty reds that I'm seeing, and they're quite strong. So I'm just going to take some red, strong red, and just put little dots, let them kind of play around. And since I have the strong red, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the strong red areas that I'm seeing in the glass. And then on him, right where he connects over here. And if it feels too strong, just take a little bit of water. Okay. So I'm going to go to the white glass now. And I'm going to take a little bit of brown with a little bit of gray. So I just want a brownish grayish color. So whatever colors you have to achieve that. And I'm going to just kind of accentuate these lines that are splashing. There's a little droplet here. I'm just giving some of the areas a little bit of an edge. We're seeing almost like a spirally wave here. Anything that you see that is making a line. Going to go ahead and darken a little bit around the bottom here. And on this side. And of course, like with every painting, your eye is going to adjust and see more colors. What I want to do is I want to add just a little bit more green in this area. So I'm just creating a light, bright green. And show it to you over here. I'm just going to drop it in. I don't want it to turn green, but I just want it to have a little bit more green to it. And then I'm going to take some of it and just put it up on her. And that's kind of just one of those illusions. I mean, it doesn't really look green, but when you put it next to the red, it seems to have a little bit more of a greenish tint to it. Okay, so we're going to go into the red glass, and we are going to put in some of the swirls and details. So I want to create a deep reddish purple color. I'm taking purple and some red. A little bit of blue. And I'm going to start bringing out some of the areas. And if you see it starting to feather and get lighter, just take a little bit of water and just go around it, let it spread out. So right here, there's a very bright area. So I'm just going to go ahead, take some bright red. No, Marley. Shh. So all I'm doing is just putting in the deep areas, the bright areas. And just everything is. Marley, come here. Marley. Okay, it's one of those days. And in here, the color is getting really dark. So you can actually just take a little bit of gray or brown and just deepen the color. Now you can really see the contrast starting to happen. And I'm going to take some of that deep purple and I'm going to add it to the other glass. And that's another way that they can connect to each other. I'll work a little bit on the stems. And just putting my pencil as a guide. And work on the other one. I'm just going to put some of the detail that I'm seeing at the bottom. And you can do any edges that you're seeing. You can even go up here, almost look like little bubbles. I'm going to go ahead and darken this area over here. Just anywhere you're seeing key dark areas. And I just feel with the two figures up here, I wouldn't detail them too much. And if you're gonna take a dark color, just really just put it just in very small key areas. Come on. So again, just doing the dark areas is something I would do kind of towards the end because it's going to be key in just. Ziggy, come here. Come on, inside. No working. Because also if you do them early on and then you have to change them, it's very hard to get rid of dark areas. So I will always do that towards the end. I'm going to change her hair a little bit. See, just make some creative decisions. I'm going to have her have flowing hair. I see some of the red trickling on this side. Almost looks like there's a rose directional line in here. Seeing some stronger reds in here. And, you know, to really get this effect, it's important to look at where the lines are grouping, where they're kind of separating, where they're horizontal, vertical, curved. I'm just going to brighten him up a little bit. This is also a project that would be fun to maybe take an ink pen and just do some swirls here and there. I think his elbow needs to stick out a little bit more. And you know, you can give them as little or as much shape as you want. Just make sure that they still look like they belong. They belong to the wine splashes. I would put, you know, some splashes just around, I think. Especially that I think I got some accidental ones, so. Just darkening the rims, the edge here. And there you have it. So how did everyone do? Let me see. Oh, looks great, Lisa. Okay. Oh, Nuera, that looks fantastic. My sister, my talented sister.
Actually, it's
Oh,
mine.
and Shannon. Oh, there's Shannon. Okay. My talented niece.
This is your sister.
That's great. Susanna, can I see that again? Looks great. Oh, the couple looks wonderful. Phyllis?
A lot of work.
Fantastic.
They need to dry up a little.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, if it's hard to lift it up. Sharon, can I see what you've... No. Carol? Can you show me? Oh, that's fantastic. That's beautiful.
Okay,
Tina?
I can do mine now. I just wanted to dry off the wet area.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't
that
know.
looks great.
Thank you.
Yay. So was this a little bit easier than you thought?
Yes, it looked
Okay, good.
difficult.
Good.
It looked difficult, but then it,
I
I
know.
made
know.
mine a
I
little
think it's
bigger.
just,
I never
Yeah.
know whether to keep it small or make it a little bigger, but I thought that the man and woman would be easier if I did it just a little bigger piece of paper, you know?
yeah, I agree. I feel that working big is a lot easier because there's just more room for exploring the shapes. So Marlene, how did you do? No? Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad that this turned out. I think this makes a really pretty piece, and it will make a really nice gift for someone. You know, just again, if you're going to work on it a little bit, I would just work maybe more on the swirls of the liquid, just trying to understand what type of lines you need to make it look like a liquid swirling. That would be the only thing, but I think they turned out great. And you know, again, sometimes things might appear harder because you're focused on the concept. So the concept of turning, you know, a liquid into a figure seems daunting, but once you break it down and pull it out of, you know, the glasses themselves, it's a lot easier. So I can't wait to see these a little bit more up close. Happy New Year, everyone. I wish everyone, you know, good health, happiness. And I really do think that as much as everyone is bashing this whole year, you know what, we're all here, we're all healthy, we're having this great, you know, little time together. And I am amazed at everything that you're doing and the dedication that goes into your art. And I love you all very much, and I miss you, and I will see you next year. It's going to be watercolor still.